last piece before we are done with our packet today is we are going to be looking at, well, okay, so you started talking about chromosomes and them coming from one parent or another. So we're going to actually see here how this gets passed on and how we're calculating these probabilities in a genetic standpoint. So for us, thanks to a Franciscan monk named Mendel, we are able to figure out and determine how a trait or a variation of a trait is inherited. So how something that, let's say, your great-grandparent had, how suddenly it showed up with you, where it didn't show up in their child and their child's child, but you have it because you're related to that great-great ancestor. Interesting. So somewhere in that DNA code that was transferred down from parent to offspring to parent to offspring, you were the lucky one to actually get that gene. So let's see how that happened. So for us, in order to have a trait, we need two pieces of information. One piece of information from parent one information from parent two, so mother, father. In order to have it code for, let's say in this case, we're looking at pea plants. So for our pea plant, we are able to either have our flower be purple, or on the very rare occasion, we can also see it be white. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be breeding these two flowers, and we're going to see what an outcome is. So for us, with Mendel and his pea plants, he realized that the color purple is dominant. It takes over and you can see it, but everything else, if you had a little recessive piece of information that was coding for the white flower, you would not be able to see it. It wouldn't have a blend of this fun like marbly purple. It's one or the other. And we see this with a lot of traits, that it's either yes or no kind of deal. So for us, if we have a trait that basically takes over or dominates, where you can physically see that trait. So for example, brown eyes. That is a dominant trait over the blue or hazily green. So we have brown. So here we have a dominant. So for Mendel's pea plant, we're going to use a capital letter P for the dominant purple trait. And for our recessive white colored flower, we're going to use a little p to indicate that it's recessive, that it's not going to be able to express itself unless it doesn't have a dominant allele with it, unless it has another recessive allele with it. Then you're going to be able to see it. So let's see how that works. So here we have parent 1, who has one dominant P, or purple allele, and one recessive white allele. So first things first, we're just going to take our pencil, and we're just going to write it out. So we're going to take our capital P, and we're going to put it in our first box, as well as our second box. So we're just going to drop it straight down. For parent 1, we're going to take their little p, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to drop it straight down. For parent 2, we're going to put their alleles across. So in this first box, we have their capital yellow P, and then another capital P. For their second allele, we have a little p. So we're going to put that in our first and our second box. So now inside these boxes, we see all the different combinations that we can get of alleles if these two parents reproduced to have an offspring. So let's see here. How many of these boxes have at least one capital P? We got 1, 2, 3. How many of these boxes have a little p? Little p. We just got the one. So for us, we have a ratio going on here. We have purple. That outcome is 1, 2, 3 boxes. Whereas white, we only get the one. We have the little p, little p. So we have a 3-to-1 ratio in purple's favor because it's, again, that dominant trait. So think about it like when you're texting and you want to control the conversation or you're mad about something, you use caps. Let's be real. And so that reader, their eye is drawn to the capital letters. So you have dominated the conversation. Whereas if you're using lowercase letters, it's not as harsh sounding and it doesn't take over the conversation. So kind of think about it like that. All right, so using this info, let's take a look to answer our first part. Number 1, the capital P for purple is necessary for purple flowers. How many boxes coded for purple flowers? So purple is the physical appearance of our combination of genes or alleles. So for us, that would be our phenotype, our physical appearance phenotype. So how many of our flowers from our box, or how many boxes has the phenotype purple? For question 2, we're asking how many has the phenotype, the physical appearance of a white flower? So again, we just get 3 and we get 1. Nice and easy.